Alright, hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. So, of course, better late than never, I guess. It's time. I'm for NXT to show no mercy. So, this was supposed to come out last week. He's saying with the video I'm going to record later on this week, and in fact, a couple videos I'm doing this week, but of course, unfortunately, last week I was under the weather, so we are back and we are better than ever, as you can see. Brand spanking new camera here, or so. That's gonna be a big step up. Hopefully, a significant step up in terms of recording, and the cool thing even about this camera is this one comes with a remote, so we can do all kinds of cool stuff, such as boom and boom, and yay, I'm upside down. I'm Spider-Man. But I swear, the simplest stuff amuses me sometimes. But that's enough of that. It's time to talk about NXT No Mercy and a lot of stuff that went down there. So, as always, I'm not professional wrestling reviewer, analyst, or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and I have to say, hey, No Mercy was a pretty solid time. For the most part, heard quite a bit of stuff. Admittedly, some stuff did feel kind of transitional as we move into the as we move into NXT's debut on the CW. So some of it did feel like kind of setting up for that, but otherwise, I think a pretty solid show for the most part. So, what went down? Let's find out. Of course, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know how this works. If you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about the show, and I'm going to go match by match. So, starting with the first match for the NXT Tag Team Championships, as Axiom and Nathan Frazer sought, I should say, to get their NXT tag team titles back from Chase University, that being Andre Chase and Ridge Holland, and who, of course, were flanked by Duke Hudson, Riley Osborne, and Thea Hale. So Chase U defeated Axiom and Nathan Frazer a couple weeks before this on NXT. In fact, I believe it was at the no, it wasn't at Great American Bash. I'm looking through the wiki here to see exactly when they beat them. No, it was just on the August 13th episode of NXT is when Chase U became tag team champions, and Axiom and Nathan Frazer still having some of that dissension, but looking to get their titles back. And were they able to? Yes. So Axiom and Nathan Frazer picking up the win, and you see dissension once again, and a little bit of dissension between them, but ultimately they end up picking up the win and getting the tag titles back. And these two teams definitely did their thing and definitely brought it. So that was pretty interesting to see, and it's gonna be even more interesting to see how the NXT Tag Team Title division is shaken up once the Motor City Machine Guns arrive. But otherwise, Chase U did their thing, and they kind of talked about Ridge Holland and wanting to contribute to Chase U, I should say. And I think you can probably see where this is going, but. Rich Holland wanting to contribute to Chase U and get them some championship gold, and then meanwhile, of course, Axiom and Nathan Frazer trying to sort through their own issues, but also seeking to win back the NXT Tag Team titles, which of course they do. But then afterwards, Ridge Holland snaps. He takes out the other members of Chase U, and pretty much annihilates Andre Chase on the table. All while Thea Hale is off crying. Thea Hale's crying is a bit too dramatic, to the point where it kind of loses some of the impact, at least in my opinion. Either that or I'm slightly sick. But some of her like dramatic overacting does kind of take the sadness away from the moment, but it is still there. Ridge Holland annihilates Andre Chase, so I imagine Andre Chase will likely be back eventually, especially once NXT moves into the moves on to CW. In fact, the episode of NXT yesterday, which I didn't watch unfortunately. I probably should have watched it one time for the one time as NXT signs off from the USA Network, which is crazy because I remember, and kind of going off a tangent here, I'm sorry, but that I remember when NXT first came to the USA Network back in 2019, and it was kind of in that weird period where we were still kind of in the third brand era, but things were starting to shift a little bit, especially with them. Especially because this is around when AEW was in its rookie year as well, and so they pretty much went head to head. They pretty much went head to head on Wednesday nights, and AEW beating them in almost every turn. I remember those days. That's crazy to think about, but nevertheless, I imagine Andre Chase will be back, and he'll probably face off against Rich Holland. They'll probably have their blow off at the next pay-per-view, which let me actually see what the next NXT pay-per-view or event is, and it's actually Halloween Havoc. Is it a pay-per-view / premium live event, or is it a TV special? So, no, it's okay. So it looks like it's going to be a looks like we're going to the premium live event route. It's okay, so yeah, so it is going to be a premium live event. So I imagine that's probably where we'll get the blow off there for that feud, or it'll likely continue after that. But but for now, Rich Holland has annihilated Andre Chase. So how will things unfold from here? We'll have to wait and see. But next up in a grudge match, best friends turn bitter enemies as Zachary Wentz and seeks to battle Wesley. So after the Rascals kind of reunited, due to the partnership between WWE's mainly NXT and TNA, the Rascals kind of got back together, and in a way MSK did as well, but eventually Wesley turned on the Rascals, first taking out Trey Miguel, then Zachary Wentz, but Zachary Wentz made his return, and the feud between Zachary Wentz and Wesley has been pretty damn good, I must admit. They've definitely played this out. Still not fully buying Wesley as a heel just yet, but he's definitely, you can tell he's getting there. And Wesley kind of feeling slighted, feeling like he was abandoned by the Rascals, and more specifically Zachary Wentz, the former Nash Carter in NXT. Wes, did you forget the part where Zach got fired? He didn't leave by his choice. He got fired. But Zachary obviously rebutting these claims, and of course wanting to go after Wesley and everything, and so it led to this match here, and kind of a spoiler things even after this match, far from over between these two, because they're gonna have a street fight next week, Tuesday, as NXT makes its debut on the CW. So they're gonna have a street fight. I wonder if they will put the X Division title on the line. They didn't do it for this match, but I wonder if they'll make that last minute change. Probably not, because it's 6 days away, so it's pretty close. So I don't think they'll put the X Division title on the line. I think it'd be a little too late for that, but still, I'm interested to see where they go with that match. But as for this one was a lot of fun as well. Seeing a lot of like the high flying between both guys, while also having that level of hatred and wanting to beat the crap out of each other. I think it's cool. Ultimately, Zachary Wentz picking up the win over Wesley, and this definitely, considering they're having the rematch, and that is the one benefit of me being late to these pay-per-view / premium live events, is that we have hindsight on our side. And now with hindsight, this match definitely does kind of feel like an appetizer. Like they still put on a pretty solid match, but you can tell they were holding out just a smidge, just a bit, until the CW debut and the subsequent street fight. But otherwise, Zachary picking up the win, which I kind of didn't expect, but I wonder if that means Wesley will get back the win. And I imagine they probably will put the X Division title on the line. They'll probably save it for the rubber match, because I imagine Wesley will win the street fight on NXT, and then they'll probably do like the rubber match, maybe X Division title on the line, question mark, or I think the rubber match should be in TNA territory. Have it at like the next TNA pay-per-view event, which it's TNA having. I know I'm all over the place here. We do have a lot to catch up on. I was off for a week, of course, but interesting that TNA has their like pay-per-view events on Fridays. That's kind of an interesting change, and kind of an interesting change of pace. Probably because I'm used to the whole Saturday or Sunday kind of ordeal. So TNA having it on Fridays, I think, is an interesting choice. Not a bad choice, but just more so interesting. But yeah, so pretty solid match, pretty solid battle between the two, and you can tell it's setting up for the street fight they're gonna have. But next up, for the NXT Women's North American Championship, Kalani Jordan seeks to defend against Wendy Chu. Now, Wendy Chu had returned not too long ago. And bringing a heel version of her, sleepy time pajama, her sleepy time pajama, kind of character. Bringing that version here into this feud, and thus this championship match with Kalani Jordan, and now Wendy Chu also doing things within TNA, which is pretty cool as well. But as for this match, not necessarily a bad match. This one was pretty okay for the most part. It is. I'm trying to see if this is the shortest match of the night, and turns out it is. But not a bad title defense. More so to help Kiana James keep getting wins under her belt. I did predict. I remember I did predict Wendy Chu winning this match, but it does make sense, and you probably do want to build that lineage even more of Kalani Jordan and the her being the inaugural NXT Women's North American Champion. So it does make sense in that regard. I'm not, of course, mad at it, of course, but I just said of course twice. It's there so close together, but like I said, kind of over the place. Kind of bounce off the walls a little bit, but just please bear with me. But yeah, so not really a bad match between the two, but ultimately Kalani Jordan picking up the win, and one or two kind of botches throughout, but that's just the nature of things. And of course, as I've mentioned several times before, I don't necessarily point out the botches on the channel unless it's like a very significant, very ugly one, or somebody gets seriously hurt, or both. But yeah, otherwise not a bad match. But next up, it's the men's turn for North American Championship action, and as the Don, Tony D'Angelo, seeks to take the NXT North American Championship from the ruler Oba Femi. Now Oba Femi has acknowledged Tony D'Angelo as the Don, but him being the ruler, that trumps that, and has also gotten into it with the family. And I believe that's the official name of their stable. That obviously being Stax, Luca Crucifino, and Adriano Rizzo. But as for this match, also a pretty good one. We get to see we get to see what Tony D'Angelo is made of even more. I'm surprised they haven't called him up yet. I'm surprised they didn't call him up around when they called the other 2.0, the other NXT 2.0 originals like Braun Breaker, Grayson Waller, Carmelo Hayes, because they were kind of coming up around the same time. So I'm surprised Tony D'Angelo didn't join them, but otherwise he's doing what he can against Oba Femi, getting to show even more of his dominance within this match, and ultimately picking up the win and against Tony D'Angelo. Tony getting to show off some of his power as well against Oba, but ultimately not enough to topple the ruler. So the question is, who will? And it looks like they are kind of continuing the feud. How Obafemi's gotten into it with Adriana Rizzo. Tony D'Angelo tried hiring Alexander Hamilton. Alex, I mixed up. I mixed up Hammerstone with Alexander Hamilton, but bringing up Hammerstone, bringing him into NXT, kind of further, kind of benefiting even more from that NXT TNA working relationship. Trying to bring him in pretty much as like a hired gun to take out Obafemi. That was unsuccessful. So where will the feud continue here between Obafemi and Tony D'Angelo? We will have to find out. But next up for the NXT Women's Championship, Jada Parker, her Miss Parker, seeks to take the NXT Women's Championship from Roxanne Perez. These two have been going at it, and I want to look up the exact match. It was the 6-woman Gauntlet Eliminator, which is how Jada Parker got this opportunity. She defeated Ren Sinclair, Adriana Rizzo, Sol Ruka, Kendall Gray, and Brinley Reese. And now Parker going after Roxanne Perez here. Almost knocking her out when they did kind of their interview segment. Their like champion challenger interview segment not too long ago. So Jada Parker being built up in a big way, and you can see her getting built up even more since she came in and joined up with OTM, but now really breaking out. And this match really did feel like a huge breakout for Jada Parker, even though she came up unsuccessful here and didn't quite get the win against Roxanne Perez. Still a really solid showing and really building her up as a big deal. And after this match, you can definitely buy Jada Parker as a future NXT Women's Champion. So she did pretty well against Roxanne Perez, but ultimately falling short or not picking up the win against Roxanne, and Roxanne picking up the win against Jada here. But afterwards, Julia makes her first, technically her second NXT appearance. The first was in the crowd when she was in the crowd. I forget. I think it was Great American Bash where she was within the crowd, but. Or it might have been Stand and Deliver. No, it was Stand and Deliver. I remember because she talked about how surprised she was at the pop. But Julia confronting Roxanne Perez, so the rumors are true. And Julia, as this recording is next in line to take on Roxanne Perez as for the title coming up on the CW debut. But now Stephanie Vaquer, it looks like, is getting into the mix as well, and is going after both of them. So between Julia officially making her debut and now challenging against Roxanne Perez, and her looking impressive as well, even in the short time she's been in NXT, to now Stephanie Vaquer getting into the mix, especially now that it looks like they cleared up her visa situation, her working visa situation, which is why she hadn't debuted for a while. And now with Delta potentially being on her way as well, the NXT Women's Division is being shaken up, and I'm excited. Like between this and the tag team division, and NXT making some very big moves, but of course it makes sense. All right, and last but certainly not least, in your main event, an all ego Ethan Page, the NXT champion, and defends against Say His Name and He Appears, Joe Hendry, with of course special guest Trick Williams. Now, a couple preliminaries before we get into this match here. For starters, I know everybody in the wrestling community, IWC, talks about how much Dominic Mysterio has grown as a competitor, and he definitely has. Like compared to how he was when he first came on the scene as kind of being Rey Mysterio's son, and is really like through like the storyline with the Judgment Day and everything, really broke out into his own. Dominic Mysterio has grown quite a bit, but someone else who I've noticed has had quite a bit of growth just in this year alone, it started last year, but especially in this year, there is Trick Williams. Like Trick is definitely on his way to being a big star. He's already got the chant down, the whoop that trick chant, but especially especially after being NXT champion and everything, he's definitely on his way. But the other thing is that man, Ethan Page has been on a tear lately, hasn't he? I don't think I mentioned this during my not Great American Bash, or I think it was Great American Bash. Yeah, it was Great American Bash. I don't think I mentioned this during my Great American Bash review, but Ethan Page's theme song, I wasn't the biggest fan of at first, but I did predict it would kind of grow on me, potentially, because that's happened plenty of times where a theme song has come out, a wrestler gets a new theme song. At first you're like, oh, this sucks, but then afterwards you're like, okay, it's not bad, it grew on me. And I gotta say, Ethan Page's theme definitely falls into that camp. And it's definitely kind of catchy. It's a bit mellow. It's not totally like out there in your face. But it definitely, I think it definitely suits him, and the laid backness I think helps the theme quite a bit. And of course, kill him with a smile. And Ethan Page definitely has a great smile. Not as great as me though. But yeah, Ethan Page has been on a tear. He's been on his 1999-2000 Kurt Angle-ish, where Kurt Angle had that amazing rookie year. Ethan Page has been on a tear in NXT. He having two opportunities at the NXT Championship, losing the first one to Trick Williams, and ironically enough because of his ego. I'm not singing it this time, but then winning it pretty much on accident back at Heat Wave in the Fatal 4-Way when he was hit with the knee before falling on top of Javon Evans. So Ethan Page has definitely been on a tear as NXT champion, and it does lead to this match. Joe Hendry wins. I believe Joe Hendry won a gauntlet of his own, if I'm not mistaken, and who get this opportunity here. It's a triple threat match. It was a triple threat match, I should say. Between him, Wesley, and Pete Dunne. And of course, Trick kind of two feuds at once. One with it wasn't two feuds at once. The feud with Pete Dunne has kind of died down a little bit, but was in the feud with Ethan Page, while also being in the feud with Pete Dunne. And of course, Wesley has his thing with Zachary Wentz and everything. But Joe Hendry coming over from TNA. Some speculating he might be making the jumping of the ship permanently, especially with him trademarking pretty much his name, his catchphrase, and all that. Might be on his way totally out of TNA into WWE. But Joe Hendry, of course, still over like Rover, with people singing his theme song, and it helped him get this opportunity here, going from being first eliminated at Battle Royal to now getting the shot at the NXT Championship. My only gripe though with his entrance is pretty much he carries the entrance over from TNA. It has the music, does the clapping, the wave, and stuff like that, and then he turns and the camera zooms in. But then the music still continues for a little bit afterwards. It's usually, I think, the case in TNA where after he turns the camera, the music stops. The wave, your hands from side to side. And Joe Hendry's the prestigious one. And then afterwards, the music cuts off once he does the turn. Or especially when he's going into his promo and everything. But here, it keeps going on for a few seconds and they loop it. No! Stop that. But nevertheless, Joe Hendry getting this opportunity against Ethan Page here, and Ethan Page kind of playing up on the criticism that some, not all, but some have had Joe Hendry, how he's just trend and everything and stuff like that. Things colliding in this match here, and of course, there's, like I mentioned, Trick Williams, special guest referee, and Trick Williams for the most part calling it right down the middle, daddy. But you can also tell getting some annoyance with Ethan Page Page and Ethan Page kind of taunting Trick throughout, and Trick being very even keeled, and both Hendry and Ethan Page kind of getting up in Trick Williams' face and his grill. Of course, it's not a special guest referee match without the competitors getting upset at the special guest referee. At least, I would say it does make a little bit more sense with like Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and CM Punk, because they all in kayfabe hate each other and somewhat in real life. But yeah, it was kind of weird because Joe Hendry and Trick Williams kind of do have a lot more of like a kind of friendly, like a friendly relationship in a way. So Joe Hendry getting all up in Trick Williams' face was a bit interesting, I would say. But as Ethan Page with his usual chicanery, including I believe that's how he won, nailing Joe Hendry with the title belt behind Trick Williams' back, and ultimately helping Ethan Page secure the win. And Trick Williams, of course, reluctantly making the 3. But of course, things between the two far from over. In fact, they're set to face off for the NXT Championship on the CW premiere with CM Punk as the special guest referee. A lot of special guest referees as of late, and out of all the, and it's funny, out of all the special guest referees, we've had 3 pretty close to each other. One at SummerSlam, one here at No Mercy, and then now the one on the CW debut. CM Punk has been involved in 2 of them, and Trick Williams has been involved in 2 of them, and now Ethan Page is being involved in 2 of them, and that is crazy to think about. But otherwise, pretty solid match between the two. Joe Hendry got to show what he can do, and is definitely capable of putting on a really good match. Same with Ethan Page there, and a story of them kind of getting in Trick Williams' face, and Trick Williams being the factor in that. It is more subdued, I would say, than what they did with Seth Rollins and at SummerSlam when he reffed Drew versus Punk. But yeah, so a little bit more subdued, I would say. I think that did help the match out a little bit more, because I do feel like they went to the well a little too much when it came to Seth Rollins. And so I know a lot of people do disagree, but I feel like they went to that well of them getting in Seth Rollins' face a little bit too much. So for this one to be not quite as prevalent, it still happened, of course, but for this one to be not quite as like prevalent, if that makes any sense, I think did help out, and Ethan Page gets the win. Joe Hendry still looks pretty solid in defeat. We did not get the Josh Alexander interference like we thought we would, although Josh Alexander would mock Joe Hendry after his loss, saying he misrepresented TNA in his loss, continuing their feud in TNA and everything. But yeah, but it is also nice to see the TNA and NXT working relationship culminate in something like this, with Joe Hendry, the TNA superstar, of course, challenging for the NXT title. And that was another part of the feud, is that Ethan Page isn't letting the title go to TNA, and sure enough, he didn't. But yeah, so pretty solid match for the most part, I would say. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for No Mercy. Pretty solid show on the whole, I would say. The match of the night, I definitely gotta give it to Zachary Wentz and Wesley. They definitely did their thing for sure. Or as for the weakest match, I might have to go with the NXT Women's North American Championship, but only really by comparison. But nevertheless, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload videos you can see the drops. And let me know in the comments your thoughts on NXT No Mercy and my review of it. Do you like No Mercy? Do you like my review of No Mercy? Let me know your thoughts. And are you excited for NXT's debut on the CW? And of course, later on this week, we got Tales from Labyrinth of Shock Radio, because I was under the weather. Those took an off week, of course. First, All Out, that review is coming on Friday, and I got a very special birthday adjacent review, birthday months or adjacent review coming on Sunday, because it is still September, of course. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.